How's it going, boys? Johnny Superb Man here, and it's time for another NHL 16 Shootout commentary. And we got a lot to talk about today. The NHL entry draft is behind us. We've seen some trades. Right around the corner, we got free agency, and that's what I want to talk about today. The big fish available in free agency this year, Steven Stamkos. All right, so we're not going to be focusing on the shootout at all. This is going to be a post-com. The topics that I want to talk about, I want to be very specific, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Oh, before we do, I'll just let you know that all the stats and information that I'm about to talk about, I got from capfriendly.com. So if I screwed up any cap hits or any salaries, blame them. Don't blame me. I took it right from their website. So let's talk about the teams the analysts keep on bringing up when talking about who's in the mix to grab Steven Stamkos. First, you have to mention the Tampa Bay Lightning, the team he currently plays for, the team that drafted him. Is he going to resign? Will he not resign? I have to say, just based on history, I don't think he's going to resign. Players who usually are dedicated to a team and want to play for that team will re-sign in the final year of their contract. Just look at Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, right, for perfect examples. So I don't think he's going to re-sign. I've also heard the analysts say that Steve Yzerman is not willing to go over $8.5 million per season for 7 years. Considering all the success the Tampa Bay Lightning have had in the last 2 seasons, it hasn't just been on the shoulders of one player. They got a lot of contracts coming up over the next, year, 2, 3 years. So if you give Steven Stamkos all that money, it means you're going to have to move on from someone else. And the Tampa Bay Lightning proved they can be effective without Steven Stamkos this year. Look at the playoff run they had, right? So $8.5 million per year over 7 years, that equals $59.5 million. $59.5 million over 7 years he can make with the Tampa Bay Lightning, okay? And be on a competitive team. Let's move on. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I'm putting them up there because I want him to re-sign with the Leafs. Hometown team. It seems like the perfect fit. But the more and more you actually look at it and think about it, he's probably not coming here. Just wishful thinking on my part, boys. But let me get into this. We don't have that much cap space right now, which is the problem. He's going to want a lot. And if he's not re-signing with Tampa Bay for $8.5, you're going to have to pay him probably Toews or Kane money. Close to it anyways. Do the Leafs want to go that route right now? If you look at the success of the Chicago Blackhawks, it hasn't been when Kane and Toews have been on their $10.5 million contracts. It was in the build-up to those contracts. They got them at a young age. They took advantage of those early contracts. Look at the contract that Keith was on, Seabrook, Toews, and Kane in 2010 and 2013 when they won those Stanley Cups. When you sign a player in his unrestricted free agency range or era, or whenever he gets to that spot, you're giving the player a player-friendly contract. There's no longer any team-friendly contracts. The Leafs are on the right track. So we're going to have plenty of team-friendly contracts coming up. If we go out and get a guy like Stamkos, we may handicap ourselves. Also, if we want to free up cap space, we can. There's plenty of players we can move out. Joffrey Lupo, if we can find a team, or just buy him out. Tyler Balsack, I know we can trade him. Brooks Lake, Milan McCulloch. There are plenty of Bernier. There are plenty of players the Leafs could move out to open up cap space for Steven Stamkos. But the argument that I just gave you about using young players while they're on team-friendly contracts to have a successful run, I think that's the recipe for success. So I don't think it's a smart idea for Steven Stamkos to be signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'd love to see it, but Lou Lamoriello, I don't think they're going to make that mistake. So I'm going to say no to Steven Stamkos with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next up, the Detroit Red Wings, and these seem to be the favorite destination for Stammer. Detroit, they've traded away Datsuk's contract to the Arizona Coyotes, I believe it was. So Datsuk is back with Russia. The extra year that he had left on his deal has been moved out. So all that cap space they have just freed up. I believe they have $18 million of cap space now. And I've heard the analysts say Detroit would be willing to go Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane money. So that's $10.5 million per year over 7 years, $73.5 million over 7 years. Now, let's compare that to what Tampa Bay was offering them. 8.5 over 7 years came out to $59.5 million. Detroit's deal, 10.5 per year, equals $73.5 million. all right? That is $14 million more over 7 years. That's no small amount. So if Steven Stamkos is taking a team-friendly deal, he's leaving that kind of money on the table. $14 million. An athlete has to make as much money as soon as they can. You never know when a career-ending injury is right around the corner. So, you know, I don't blame him for choosing a team like Detroit over Tampa Bay simply for the money. That's a lot, all right? The next team, the Minnesota Wilds. Now, I haven't heard too much about this, but they have bought out Thomas Vanek's contract and currently have $14 million of cap space. Now, I don't know if they could pull it off, but the Wild desperately need that top-line center. Could you imagine that? If they could somehow maybe work some trades, unload some young rookies, who knows, maybe get rid of some of their older guys like Pominville, if they wanted to go with Parise and Stammer. Oof, that could be nice. And with that competitive Western Conference, the Minnesota Wild looking to take that extra step, you know they would be interested if they could get it done. And also the Buffalo Sabres. These guys have been in the discussion. And, you know, adding Stamkos would be perfect for a team full of young, talented players. They have $20 million of cap space, so they could offer him some real money as well. The only problem I see with the Buffalo Sabres is who plays on the wing. I mean, they got if they signed him, they would have Stammer, they'd have Eichel, they'd have O'Reilly, they'd have Reinhart, and you know the issues with Stamkos playing the wing. That's said to be one of the main reasons why he didn't like playing in Tampa Bay with John Cooper. Yes, there was success, but he wants to play in the middle. Now, I don't see why he'd want to go to the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, they have a bright future. There's other teams with bright futures. But when you look at proximity to the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know, if that's his hometown team, if he doesn't want to play for his hometown team, but he still wants to be close to home, so he can be close to his friends, his family can drive down to Buffalo to see him play all the time, that does make sense to me. So if you're not going to play with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but you still want to play close to home, the Buffalo Sabres work out. They got more cap space, and they are farther along in the rebuild than the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? So if they can make that work out and move one of those guys to the wing, I could see Buffalo Sabres working, but who are you going to move to the wing there, right? So those are the 5 teams I think have the lead here, boys. But I also have some other teams that I thought would be interesting if he signed with. All right, so I know this is not going to make any sense, but just imagine. Imagine if the Arizona Coyotes or the New Jersey Devils offered Stamkos, you know, something like $12 million per year. I mean, they both have over $25 million in cap space, and they both need that star player to help their franchise, right? And $12 million per year, that, again, you look at the increase from Detroit, from Tampa, $12 million per year, that's $84 million after 7 years. Detroit was at 73.5. That's almost what? That's what's 11 million more? 10.5 million more? From Tampa Bay, which was 59.5 million, 84. That's what? That's like $25 million more. I mean, it's incredible. So if he's going for money, he can make it. And I'd imagine there's a team out there that's going to offer him $12 million per season if they have the cap space and the owner gets behind it. And that's a lot of money. So he might just sign with a shitty team for money, baby. Imagine Stamkos signs with the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they got $20 million of cap space, and they just selected a winger who needs a center. You could go in the future with Stamkos, Laine with Wheeler, and then Ehlers, Scheifele, and Dano. That's a nice little top 6 right there. But the combination of Stamkos and Laine, Winnipeg, ooh, baby, that'd be sexy. How about the St. Louis Blues? I mean, I don't know if that would work. He'd have to take a pay cut to fit under their cap, and if he's going to do that, why not just stay in the East with the Tampa Bay Lightning? They're competitive as well. And the Blues, if they were going to make that work, he'd have to take a cap hit or a pay cut, and they'd also have to move out a player like Backus or Stastny or Steen or Latar. Like, they'd have to move out somebody, some forward there in their top 6. They'd have to free up the cap space. But the Blues would be a serious contender then, man. Watch out. Or how about the Montreal Canadiens? I'd hate to see it, but just speaking as an unbiased hockey fan, that's what Montreal needs, and they would have a filthy freaking squad if they could pull it off. It seems like there's no way the Habs could afford another big contract, but if they could move out, say, a Desharnais, a Plekanec, or a Markov, I mean, they might be able to fit it in, and they would have a filthy freaking team. Stamkos, Subban, Price, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk, Gallagher, and Shaw. And I think, like, the oldest player out of those guys would be Price at 28 years of age, right? I mean, this core could be dominant. They'd have issues when Price and Pacioretty's contract came up, but for the next 2 years, freaking dominant. So, boys, there are the teams I want to talk about. I'm going to give my prediction, my real prediction. 30 teams, I think, are in the running for Steven Stamkos. Not that many have a legitimate chance, but I'm going to give you 2 teams for my prediction, all right? 2 teams, and I'm going to give you guys all 2 guesses as well. If you had 2 guesses to choose where Steven Stamkos is going, who would you choose? I'm going to choose the Detroit Red Wings. They seem to really have taken the lead in the Steven Stamkos sweepstakes. $10.5 million per season. Seems very, very generous. I don't know if he's looking just for money. If he is, he can go to Arizona or New Jersey for the $12 million like I was talking about. But Detroit, he's not getting as much as he possibly could, but he's getting more than he would with Tampa Bay. And Detroit, I mean, look at all the years they've made it into the playoffs in a row. They have a healthy prospect pool. They have a strong ownership. They'll be a good team. So that makes sense there. You get competition and you get paid, right? And my second team that I'll go with is the Buffalo Sabres. That close proximity to Toronto and the ability to sign him for a lot of money. And if he plays the center, maybe Eichel goes to the wing, maybe Reinhardt is on the wing for him, O'Reilly, who knows, but he'll definitely be paired with a young, skilled player over there. So you're further along in the rebuild than teams like Toronto and Edmonton. You have young talent to play alongside of him. He can play center, and he's close to home. It all works out right there. So I'm going my 2 teams for the prediction, boys, Detroit and Buffalo. Who do you guys choose? Take it easy, and I'll see you guys next time. Be sure to check out our website, 2bcsports.com, where the hockey talk continues. Find myself and others in the live interactive chat, or dive into the active forums to talk about sports and gaming. You can also find us on Twitch, where the live streams come to life.